Rain poured heavily over the crowded streets of the city, drenching everyone in a cold, relentless shower. Maya darted through puddles, clutching her worn-out umbrella as she hurried toward the university gate. She was late for class again, her bag sagging with books and notebooks she barely had time to read. Her stomach growled, reminding her that she had skipped breakfast to save money for the bus fare. As she rounded a corner, she noticed a small crowd gathered near the gates, their laughter sharp and cruel. A man sat slouched against the stone wall, soaking wet, his tattered jacket hanging loosely from his thin frame. A few students jeered, tossing coins and mocking him. "Get a real job, loser. Or at least learn to wash your clothes," one shouted, kicking at the puddle near him. Maya's blood boiled. Without thinking, she marched into the group. "Leave him alone," she shouted, her voice cutting through the noise. The crowd glanced at her, startled. "Who asked you?" one of the students sneered. But Maya stood her ground, planting her hands on her hips. "He doesn't deserve your mockery. None of us would survive a day on the streets if we were in his shoes." The students laughed at her too, but Maya ignored them. She knelt down in front of the man, who looked up, his dark eyes holding a depth she hadn't expected. "Are you okay?" she asked softly. He didn't speak, only nodded slightly. Maya noticed the subtle intelligence in his gaze, a quiet sadness that didn't belong to someone homeless. Over the next few weeks, Maya found herself drawn to the man, who introduced himself as Jonas. He never asked for money, never begged. He simply sat near the university, reading, sketching, or quietly observing the students. Maya started leaving her lunch with him, small acts of kindness that became routine. He would thank her with a shy smile, a simple gesture that made her heart flutter, though she refused to acknowledge it out loud. One afternoon, as they shared a small packet of rice and beans under the cover of her umbrella, Jonas spoke for the first time in a way that unsettled Maya. "People see what they want to see," he said quietly, his eyes on the horizon. "They judge without understanding." Maya nodded, nibbling her food. "Most people don't even notice the good in others anymore," she replied. "But you've been here every day. You haven't asked for much. You just exist." Jonas looked at her, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "Existence can be a burden when the world expects nothing from you but your worth in money." Maya frowned. "What do you mean?" Jonas shook his head, the rain falling on his face, masking his expression. "Never mind," he murmured, turning his gaze back to the crowded street. Despite his vagueness, Maya found herself wanting to know more. She began visiting him every day after class, sharing stories of her life, her struggles, and occasionally her dreams. She had little to offer materially, but her presence brought Jonas a sense of peace he hadn't felt in years. For the first time, he allowed himself to enjoy the simplicity of human connection. Weeks passed, and strange little details began to surface. Jonas spoke with a peculiar fluency about companies, profits, and investments. He carried a notebook filled with sketches, financial calculations, and diagrams that seemed far beyond his appearance as a homeless man. Maya noticed but didn't question him directly, afraid that curiosity might drive him away. One evening, as they sat under the sparse shelter of a broken awning, Jonas suddenly stiffened. A sleek black SUV had stopped nearby, and a man in a crisp suit stepped out. "Sir, we need you to come home immediately," he said in a hushed tone. Jonas' expression shifted to panic, and without a word, he grabbed his small bag and disappeared into the rain. Maya's heart raced. She wanted to follow but hesitated, unsure of what she might find. That night, she lay awake, thinking of Jonas' strange behavior and the mysterious SUV. Questions swirled in her mind. Who was he really? Why was he hiding? And most importantly, why did she feel so strongly about him despite barely knowing him? Days later, Jonas didn't show up at their usual spot. Maya searched for him, asking around, but no one seemed to know anything. Just as she was about to give up hope, she heard a rumor about a wealthy young man being taken to a private medical facility after collapsing from exhaustion. Heart pounding, she followed the trail, her curiosity mingled with fear. The facility was unlike anything she had imagined. Guards in black uniforms blocked the entrance, and the building gleamed with sterile perfection. Maya's stomach twisted as she realized she might be too late. But before she could retreat, a nurse noticed her and motioned her forward. Are you with him? She asked gently. He needs someone he trusts. Maya was led inside, her eyes widening at the sight of Jonas lying on a hospital bed, surrounded by advanced medical equipment. He looked fragile, human, and incredibly vulnerable. When he saw her, relief flooded his face. You came, he whispered hoarsely. I had to, Maya said, gripping his hand. I couldn't leave you. Jonas smiled weakly, then took a deep breath. I need to tell you the truth, he said. I'm not who you think I am. Maya tilted her head, confused. What do you mean? I'm Jonas Caldwell, he said quietly. I am the heir to the Caldwell Tech Empire. My family. They expect me to live a life dictated by wealth, power, and appearances. I left because I couldn't trust anyone. Everyone saw me as a means to an end, a way to gain money or influence. Maya stared at him, speechless. Her mind struggled to reconcile the man who had sat in the rain beside her with the billionaire lying in the hospital bed. You're a billionaire? She whispered, her voice trembling. Jonas nodded. Yes, but I wanted to see who would care for me when I had nothing. I needed to know if anyone could see me for who I truly am, not for my money. Maya's heart ached. And you're saying I'm that person? Yes, he said, his eyes locking with hers. You are the only one who treated me like a human being. You saw me when everyone else ignored me. Tears welled in Maya's eyes. I didn't care about who you were. I just wanted to help. Jonas reached out, brushing her wet hair from her face. And that's why I trust you. The following day, Jonas invited Maya to his home. Though she had no idea what awaited her. She expected a modest apartment, perhaps a small house. Instead, a limousine pulled up outside, gleaming black in the sunlight. Guards opened the doors, and Maya stepped in, her heart hammering in her chest as the car drove through the city. She caught glimpses of massive estates, luxury cars, and sprawling gardens. When they arrived, the gates of a 40-acre mansion swung open automatically, revealing a world she had only seen in magazines. The interior was opulent, with marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and walls lined with priceless art. Maya felt a mix of awe and fear. She had never imagined she would be in such a place, standing in the home of the man she had only ever seen as vulnerable and human. Jonas guided her through the halls, explaining gently that his father, the board members, and his family were waiting to meet the person who had changed his life. Inside the grand hall, faces turned toward her. Some relatives whispered, their eyes filled with judgment. Maya felt her cheeks flush. Jonas, however, held her hand firmly. If you can't respect her, you can't respect me, he said, his voice calm but resolute. The tension in the room was palpable. Board members exchanged nervous glances, realizing that the power dynamics had shifted. Jonas' father approached, his expression softening as he looked at Maya. She is the one who saw you when no one else did, Jonas said. She is the person I trust to help me decide the future of my company. Gasps filled the room. Corrupt board members who had been siphoning funds and manipulating deals paled at the revelation. Jonas had trusted Maya unknowingly to help uncover their deceit, and her presence now validated his authority. Over the next few hours, Maya found herself swept into a whirlwind of discussions, board meetings, and personal revelations. She realized that her simple acts of kindness had not only changed Jonas' life, but also exposed corruption and greed at the highest levels. Her bravery, empathy, and intelligence had given her a place in a world she had never imagined entering. As evening fell, Jonas led Maya to the balcony overlooking the sprawling estate. The city lights sparkled like a constellation beneath them. I don't want you here because of my money, he said softly. I want you here because you are the only person who saw me for who I am. Not my wealth, not my name, just me. Maya's heart swelled. I never cared about your money, she admitted. I cared about you. Jonas smiled, pulling her close. Then we are alike, he said, his voice filled with emotion. Two people who saw each other through everything, no matter what the world thought. As they stood together, a sense of peace settled over Maya. She had stepped into a world of wealth and power, yes, but more importantly, she had found someone who valued her for who she truly was. And Jonas, for the first time in his life, felt understood, seen, and loved in a way that no money could ever buy. before the camera would cut to the closing scene. Jonas turned to Maya and said, "For everyone watching this story, remember, kindness changes lives. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories like ours. You never know whose life you might touch just by being human." The screen faded to black with the sound of the rain still falling softly outside. A reminder that even in the darkest storms, the light of compassion could shine brightest. Maya and Jonas stood side by side, two hearts united not by wealth, not by status, but by the pure unbreakable bond of genuine human connection. And as the world continued to spin beyond the gates of the mansion, their story became a testament to the power of seeing and being seen.